Ladies and gentlemen, just a little over 1 year later from the biggest Zelda game of all time, we have The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom, a brand new adventure where Princess Zelda is tasked to save the day. This is arguably the biggest Switch game of 2024, and one of the last big Nintendo Switch games ever. So let's break down what this game is, what's going on, and is it for you? Let's go and get right into this video. Yeah, I don't know how Nintendo and the Zelda team are doing it, but boy are they doing it. This game was a huge surprise, but I am not complaining at all. So before we get into this review, if you could hit a like and subscribe, it would truly mean the world to me. Let's go and get right into the video. So a quick recap on The Legend of Zelda. The series started all the way back in 1986 on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Since then, we have had over 30 Zelda games released over multiple decades and on multiple consoles. Zelda Echoes of Wisdom is actually the 8th Zelda game released on the Nintendo Switch, and I can't be the only one who finds that highly impressive. So what's the story here? Well, mysterious rifts have appeared in the Kingdom of Hyrule. People, objects, and even the King of Hyrule and Link are swallowed up by these rifts. So it's up to Princess Zelda and her companion Tri to save the day. Instead of having a sword, like our hero Link, Zelda has a Tri-Rod, and this allows her to create echoes or copy items. This is the main gameplay mechanic of this game. When first hearing that you can duplicate items, you may think, well, that sounds pretty fun, but it sounds a little too straightforward. But I'm here to tell you I was actually surprised at all the things you can do. You really can approach enemies in a variety of ways, and make each encounter as difficult as you would like. Want to fight enemies head on? Well, you can do that. Want to be a little bit more sneaky and play around with the enemies? Well, you can also do that too. I actually did find myself taking a little too long to get through some areas. Like, I feel like I should have got through some of these areas a little bit quicker, because I did have to think sometimes how I was going to defeat an enemy. But for comparison, in a normal Zelda game, usually you'll just run in an area with Link and start slashing enemies with your sword. But in this game, I hesitated a little bit more. One of my favorite echoes so far though, is just making copies of certain monsters, because it's so funny to me to see Zelda and a bunch of monsters jumping another monster. I was like, damn Zelda, get them! Y'all are really whooping their asses right now. I don't want to spoil too much in this video, but you will eventually get the sword fighting ability, but once you have it, you can fight enemies the more traditional way. This is a limited time ability, but it is nice having that option sometimes instead of relying on just using echoes. You also have an ability in the game called Bind, and this is where you're going to get really creative in the game. It binds you to an object, and you and that object will move sync together. So one area where I felt the game was a little bit easier is in the puzzles. I love 2D Zelda games just as much as I love the 3D Zelda games, and one area where I think the 2D games shine more than the 3D games is in the puzzles. Having the echo abilities allows you to solve the puzzles pretty fast sometimes. Like, instead of taking a detour around the puzzle and trying to figure out how to get through it, you can go from start to finish almost in an instant sometimes. Like, you can just build an object or use an object and get where you need to go. Don't get me wrong, they are still very satisfying to complete, and I'm sure later on in the game they will get a little bit more difficult, but it is something I feel like was worth mentioning. Coming from Tears of the Kingdom, where you can legit do almost anything, I was very curious how the next mainline Zelda game would be. Now, I didn't expect the next mainline Zelda game to be a 2D Zelda game, where you're just a little bit more limited than you would be in a 3D Zelda game. But after playing Echoes of Wisdom and seeing all the freedom, I'm not really sure if we'll ever go back to that classic Zelda formula. And I'm really not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And I really hope Nintendo and the Zelda team don't feel like they need to keep one-upping themselves in the way you actually play Zelda games in the future. I'm a lifelong Zelda fan, and I've almost beat every Zelda game ever. And the games that are the most memorable to me are classic Zelda games. And the reason why I think that is because they're a little bit more linear. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying classic Zelda games don't have freedom, but my experience is, with them being a little bit more linear, I'm able to get immersed in the games a little bit better. One of my favorite Zelda games of all time is a Link's Awakening remake, and one area where that game really struggled is in the graphics. Zelda Echoes of Wisdom looks better, okay, let's just get that out of the way, but it still struggles at random times depending on what's going on the screen. By no means does this affect your gameplay, but it is very noticeable. I don't want you to get the wrong idea though. I absolutely love the way this game looks. The colors look so damn good, and they almost pop right off the screen of my Switch OLED. And this art style is so freaking cute. I hope to get Zelda games in this art style for as long as possible. Side note, instead of Nintendo doing a live action Zelda movie, which I am still highly suspicious of, I feel like they should have did something in this art style. Maybe like an animated series or something. I think something like that really has a lot of potential. So one of my favorite things about this game is dungeons are back. Like real dungeons from the classic Zelda games. Your Echo abilities do make getting through them pretty easy at times, but I cannot stress enough how happy I am that dungeons are back. I didn't mind the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom style of games at all, but some of my favorite Zelda games are Wind Waker, A Link to the Past, and Link's Awakening. So for me, it is a very welcomed return. I don't want to spoil any of the story that hasn't already been previewed, so I'll keep it pretty simple, but it's your standard Zelda adventure with Link and Zelda's roles reversed. One area of this game that really did surprise me is all of the extra stuff that's going on and all the things you can do around Hyrule. This game really is packed full of stuff, and one reason I find that so odd is because this game has a download size of only 5.4 gigabytes, and that's actually smaller than the Link's Awakening remake. Now, I haven't beat this game yet, so I can't say from experience, but from looking online and comparing it to the Link's Awakening remake, I would say this is probably going to take you around 15 to 20 hours to beat the game. And I'll be honest, that is a nice change of pace coming from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, where I at least have 150 hours in each one of those games. Like yeah, that's great, but these smaller Zelda adventures are some of my favorite of all time. So what would I rate this game, and would I recommend it? I rated Link's Awakening Remake an 8 out of 10, and I think I'm going to give this game the same exact score. There's a few minor flaws here and there, but I'd say it's a must play for any Legend of Zelda fan. I really am excited to see the future of Legend of Zelda games, because it seems like Nintendo and the Zelda team are really starting to hit a stride and make games that are super fun, but also very refreshing. Like I previously mentioned, I hope they don't think that they have to keep reinventing the wheel for us to have fun, because that can only work until it doesn't, and I would hate for them to kill all the momentum they currently have. Regardless, this is a very welcomed addition to the franchise, and a great game to get this late in the Nintendo Switch's life. Ladies and gentlemen, I really didn't expect to get a brand new Legend of Zelda adventure, especially one that you play as Princess Zelda in 2024, but hey, I'm not complaining. As always, in the comments below, let me know your thoughts and opinions. Let me know if you guys are going to be picking up this game and what you guys think about it, and if you've made it this far, if you could, follow me on Instagram, I'd really appreciate that. I would also really appreciate a like and subscribe. And you guys know me, I will see you soon with a new video. Peace out.